My son's wife tried to put me in a home, so I put her out on the street. Listen, honey, let me tell you something that'll make your blood boil and then make you cheer. 3 months ago, my daughter-in-law Jessica stood in my kitchen, the kitchen I've been cooking Sunday dinners in for 37 years, looked me dead in my face and said, "Mama Rose, you're becoming a safety hazard. We found you a nice little room at Sunset Manor. You'll be so much happier there with people your own age." Then she smiled that fake smile and patted my hand like I was some confused child who didn't understand what was happening to me. What Jessica didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the deed to that house she was so eager to ship me out of, it had my name on it, not my son Marcus's name, not her name, mine. And baby, when I tell you what I did to that woman after she tried to throw me away like yesterday's garbage, well, let's just say she learned real quick that you don't mess with a 68-year-old black woman who's been paying attention her whole life. But before I begin my story, let me know in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is. I just want to know I'm not alone in this. And if you feel moved by what you hear, consider subscribing. It helps give me the strength to speak my truth. So grab yourself something to drink, get comfortable, and let me tell you exactly how I turned Jessica's perfect little world upside down and shook out all her lies. You know, I should have seen it coming. Looking back now, all the signs were there, bright as neon signs on a Saturday night. But when you love your family the way I love mine, sometimes you make excuses for behavior that should have had you running for the hills. Let me start from the beginning, so you understand exactly what kind of woman Jessica thought she was dealing with. My name is Rose Washington, and I've been living in the same house in Oakland for 37 years. Bought it in 1987 with my husband Robert, God rest his soul, when Marcus was just 10 years old. Robert worked construction, I worked as a nurse at Highland Hospital, and together we scraped together every penny we could to get out of that cramped apartment and into something we could call our own. That house wasn't much when we bought it. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, needed work on everything from the roof to the foundation. But it was ours. And over the years, Robert and I poured our hearts, our sweat, and every spare dollar into making it beautiful. Robert built a deck in the backyard with his own hands. I planted rose bushes along the front fence, my namesake flowers that bloomed every spring like clockwork. When Robert passed 5 years ago, sudden heart attack at 68, I thought my world was ending. That man was my partner in everything for 42 years. But Marcus stepped up, or at least I thought he did. He was 37 then, married to Jessica for 3 years, and they didn't have children yet. "Don't worry, Mama," he told me at the funeral. "I'm going to take care of you. You'll never have to worry about anything as long as I'm here." Those words meant everything to me. After losing Robert, having my son promise to look out for me felt like a lifeline. Now let me tell you about Jessica. When Marcus first brought her home 6 years ago, I was so happy. My baby boy had found love. Jessica was 28, worked in marketing for some tech company, always dressed like she stepped out of a magazine. Pretty girl, I'll give her that. With long, straight hair, she probably spent more on maintaining in a month than I spent on groceries. But something about her never sat right with me. You know how some people smile with their mouth but not their eyes? That was Jessica. She'd hug me and call me Mama Rose, but it always felt calculated, like she was performing the role of loving daughter-in-law instead of actually being one. Still, Marcus loved her, and I wanted my son to be happy, so I kept my mouth shut and tried to build a relationship with this woman who was going to be part of my family. After Robert died, Jessica started coming around more often. At first, I thought it was sweet. She was trying to help me through my grief. She'd bring groceries, help me organize Robert's things. sit with me when the loneliness got too heavy. "You're so strong, Mama Rose," she'd say. "I don't know how you do it." But then the suggestions started. "This house is so big for just you," she'd mention casually while we were washing dishes. "Don't you think it's too much to maintain?" Or, "It must be scary being here alone at night. Have you thought about, maybe, downsizing?" I'd brush it off. "Baby, I've been taking care of this house for decades. I'm not scared of being alone." But Jessica was persistent and clever. She never pushed too hard at once, just little comments here and there, like seeds she was planting in my mind. Meanwhile, Marcus was dealing with his own struggles. His construction business was having a rough year. Big contracts were going to larger companies, and he was working twice as hard for half the money. I could see the stress wearing on him, the way it reminded me of his father during the lean years. So when Marcus came to me 6 months after Robert's funeral, hat in hand, asking if he and Jessica could move in just temporarily while they got back on their feet, I didn't hesitate. "Of course, baby. This is your home too." That was my first mistake. They moved into Marcus's old bedroom, and for a while, things seemed okay. Marcus helped with yard work and repairs around the house. Jessica cooked dinner sometimes, though she always made a point of mentioning how expensive groceries were getting. But slowly, things began to change. Jessica started rearranging things in the kitchen, just making it more efficient, Mama Rose. She'd move my dishes to different cabinets, change where I kept my spices, reorganize my pantry according to her system. When I'd try to find something and couldn't, she'd sigh like I was being difficult. "Remember, Mama Rose, we moved the plates to the cabinet by the sink. It makes more sense there." She started questioning my habits. Why did I keep the thermostat so low? Why did I insist on hanging laundry outside when we had a perfectly good dryer? Why did I watch my stories, my soap operas, so loud? "Maybe you should get your hearing checked," she'd suggest with that fake concerned voice. "It's not normal to need the TV that loud." Marcus would just shrug when I mentioned these things to him. "She's just trying to help, Mama. You know how women are about organizing." But I knew better. Jessica wasn't trying to help. She was trying to take over, and she was using my son's distraction with his work problems to slowly push me out of my own space. The temporary stay stretched from 3 months to 6 months to a year. Every time I brought up when they might move out, there was always another crisis. Marcus's truck broke down and needed expensive repairs. Jessica's company was going through layoffs, and she couldn't risk looking for a new place. They were saving money for a down payment on their own home. Always another excuse. And through it all, Jessica kept up her campaign of little suggestions and concerned observations. "Mama Rose, I noticed you forgot to turn off the stove yesterday. That could have been dangerous. You seem to be getting a little unsteady on your feet. Maybe we should remove some of these throw rugs before you trip. I found some bills in the refrigerator. Are you having trouble keeping track of things?" None of it was true. I'd been managing my household just fine for nearly 70 years. But Jessica was building a narrative, creating evidence of an elderly woman who was becoming unsafe and confused. And Marcus, God bless him, was so buried in trying to save his business that he wasn't paying attention to what was really happening in his childhood home. The breaking point came on a Sunday in March. I was making my usual Sunday dinner, something I'd been doing every week for 37 years. Fried chickens, mac and cheese, collard greens, cornbread, the works. It was tradition, a way to bring family together and honor the memories of all the Sunday dinners Robert and I had shared. Jessica walked into the kitchen while I was seasoning the chicken and wrinkled her nose like she smelled something awful. "Mama Rose, don't you think all this fried food is a bit much? Marcus is trying to watch his cholesterol, and honestly, we've been talking about eating healthier as a family. I looked at this woman standing in my kitchen criticizing the meal I'd been perfecting since before she was born, and something inside me snapped. "Jessica, baby," I said, keeping my voice calm and level. "I've been cooking Sunday dinner in this kitchen since before you knew my son existed. I think I know what I'm doing." She stiffened, and for just a moment, I saw something flash in her eyes. Something cold and calculating that she usually kept hidden behind her sweet act. "Of course, Mama Rose. I just worry about you standing over that hot stove for so long. Maybe it's time to think about simpler meals. Or better yet," she paused and gave me that fake smile again, "maybe it's time to think about whether you should be cooking at all." That's when I knew. This wasn't about helping me or protecting me or making things easier. This was about control. Jessica wanted me gone, and she was going to keep chipping away at my confidence, my independence, and my place in my own home until I gave up and left voluntarily. But Jessica had no idea who she was dealing with. You see, while she'd been playing her little games, I'd been watching and listening, and most importantly, I'd been remembering lessons my mama taught me 60 years ago about women who smile to your face while sharpening knives behind your back. My mama used to say, "Rose, baby, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time, and when they come for what's yours, you better be ready to show them who you are." It was time for Jessica to find out exactly who Rose Washington was. The betrayal phase. The final betrayal came 2 weeks after the Sunday dinner incident, and honey, it was worse than I could have imagined. I was sitting in my living room, watching my morning talk show and drinking coffee from the mug Marcus made me in high school pottery class, the one that said "World's Best Mom" in his crooked teenage handwriting. I heard voices in the kitchen, and something about the hushed, urgent tone made me turn down the TV and listen. "Can't keep going like this, Marcus. She's getting worse." That was Jessica, and she was talking about me like I wasn't even in the house. "What do you mean worse?" That was my son's voice, tired and strained. "Yesterday I found her medication in the sugar bowl, and last week she left the front door unlocked all night. What if someone had broken in? What if she'd wandered outside and gotten lost? Now, I need you to understand something. I have never, not once in my entire life, put my medication anywhere except the bathroom medicine cabinet, and I check that front door lock every night before bed. It's been my routine for 37 years. Jessica was lying, flat out, bold-faced lying about me to my own son. But it got worse. And the bills, Marcus. I've been trying to help her organize them, but she gets so confused. Last month, she almost paid the electric bill twice and forgot about the water bill completely. I had to step in and fix it. Another lie. I've been managing my own finances since I was 18 years old. My bills are paid on time, every time, and I keep meticulous records. But as I sat there listening, I realized Jessica had been setting up these incidents for months, moving things and then finding them in the wrong places, taking my bills and then claiming I'd forgotten about them. She was gaslighting me, making me look incompetent and confused so she could... What? What was her end game? I got my answer soon enough. "I've been doing some research," Jessica continued, and I could hear papers rustling. "There are some really nice assisted living facilities in the area. I even toured a few last week. Sunset Manor has an opening next month, and they specialize in residents with early-stage memory issues." My blood ran cold. This woman had been touring nursing homes behind my back, planning to ship me off like a piece of furniture they didn't want anymore. "I don't know, Jess." Marcus sounded uncertain. "Mama's always been sharp. Are you sure she needs that level of care?" "Marcus, honey, I know it's hard to see because she's your mother, but she's not the same woman she was when your father was alive. She's deteriorating, and it's not safe for her to live alone anymore. Even with us here, I'm constantly worried about what might happen when we're at work." The manipulation in her voice was masterful, concerned, loving, reasonable. If I hadn't known she was lying about everything, I might have believed her myself. "The good news is," Jessica continued, "once she's settled somewhere safe, we can finally start our real life together. This house has so much equity, Marcus. We could sell it and have enough for a down payment on our own place, plus money left over to start the family we've been talking about." And there it was, the real reason Jessica wanted me gone. She wanted my house. She wanted to sell the home Robert and I built, the home where we raised our son, the home filled with 37 years of memories and love, and use the money to fund her perfect little life. "I don't know about selling the house," Marcus said quietly. "This is Mama's home. Dad built that deck with his own hands. All their memories are here." "Marcus, be practical. Your mother doesn't need a 3-bedroom house anymore, and we do. We're starting our own family now, and we need space to grow. Your parents would want you to be happy, wouldn't they? They'd want you to use this asset to build a better future." I had to grip the arms of my chair to keep from storming into that kitchen. This woman was not only planning to warehouse me in some facility, she was trying to convince my son that it was what Robert and I would have wanted. But Marcus, bless his heart, was wavering. I could hear it in his voice. Maybe we should talk to Mama about it first. See how she feels about the idea." "Of course," Jessica said quickly. "But Marcus, we need to approach this carefully. Elderly people often resist these transitions, even when they're necessary. We might need to present it as temporary at first, just until she gets used to the idea." More manipulation, more lies. She was coaching my son on how to trick me into giving up my home and my independence. That's when I heard footsteps coming toward the living room. I quickly turned the TV volume back up and pretended to be absorbed in my show. "Good morning, Mama Rose." Jessica's voice was bright and cheerful, like she hadn't just been planning my exile 30 seconds earlier. "How are you feeling today?" I looked up at her perfect smile, her perfectly styled hair, her perfectly coordinated outfit, and for the first time in over a year, I smiled back with genuine warmth. "I'm feeling just fine, baby, just fine." Because I was. For the first time since this woman entered my family, I knew exactly where I stood and exactly what I was dealing with. And honey, when you know your enemy, you're halfway to victory. Jessica had made one crucial mistake in all her scheming and plotting. She'd assumed that because I was older, I was weaker. She'd assumed that because I'd been kind and welcoming, I was naive. She'd assumed that because I'd been grieving my husband and grateful for help, I was helpless. She was about to learn just how wrong she was. But first, I needed to know exactly what legal ground I was standing on. So that afternoon, while Marcus was at a job site and Jessica was at work, I made a phone call to someone I should have called months earlier. Law offices of Patricia Green. "Patricia, it's Rose Washington. I need to see you as soon as possible." Patricia Green had been my friend since nursing school 45 years ago. After she decided medicine wasn't for her, she went to law school and built a successful practice specializing in elder law and family legal issues. She was also the sharpest woman I'd ever known and had zero tolerance for people who tried to take advantage of seniors. "Rose, how are you holding up, honey? I've been meaning to call since Robert's funeral." "I'm fine, Pat, but I need your help. Can you see me tomorrow?" "Of course. Are you in some kind of trouble?" I looked around my living room at the family photos on the mantel, at Robert's reading chair that still smelled faintly of his cologne, at the quilt my grandmother made hanging on the wall, and made my decision. Not trouble exactly, but I think someone's trying to steal my house. The next day, I sat in Patricia's office and told her everything, every lie Jessica had told, every incident she'd manufactured, every conversation I'd overheard. Patricia listened with the intensity of a woman who'd heard these stories too many times before. Rose, what you're describing is elder abuse, financial and emotional abuse designed to make you doubt your own competence so they can take control of your assets. Can they do it? Can they force me into a nursing home and sell my house? Patricia leaned back in her chair and gave me the smile I remembered from our nursing school days, the one that meant she was about to demolish someone's argument in class. Not if you're mentally competent, which you clearly are, and definitely not if the house is solely in your name. Tell me, how is the deed structured? Robert and I bought it together, but after he died, his half automatically transferred to me. The whole house is in my name now. Perfect. Do you have the deed? In my safe deposit box at the bank. Good. Now, has Marcus ever made mortgage payments on the house? The house has been paid off for 8 years, and even when we had a mortgage, Robert and I paid it. Marcus has never contributed to house payments. Patricia nodded, making notes. What about property taxes and maintenance? I pay the property taxes from my own account. I pay for repairs and upkeep. Marcus helps with labor sometimes, but I pay for materials and contractors. Excellent! And you're not financially dependent on Marcus or Jessica. Not at all. I have Robert's life insurance, my own savings, my pension from the hospital, and Social Security. I'm financially independent. Patricia set down her pen and looked at me seriously. Rose, your daughter-in-law has no legal standing to force you into assisted living or to sell your house. None whatsoever. The house is yours. You're financially independent, and you're clearly mentally competent. But what if Marcus sides with her? What if they try to claim I'm incompetent? They'd need medical evidence, and they'd need to go through the courts. Given what you've told me about Jessica manufacturing incidents, I doubt they have any real evidence. But Rose, I'm going to suggest something that might sound extreme. What? Document everything. Start keeping a detailed journal of every incident, every conversation, every lie. Install security cameras in common areas of your house. Record these people, Rose. If they're planning to steal your home and your independence, we need evidence of their scheme. I felt a chill of excitement run through me. Patricia was giving me permission to fight back, to stop being a victim and start being a warrior. Can I do that? Legally, I mean. It's your house, Rose. You can install cameras anywhere except bedrooms and bathrooms. You have every right to monitor what happens in your own home. And if I catch them planning something illegal? Patricia's smile got wider. Then we destroy them. I left Patricia's office with a clear plan and a renewed sense of purpose. Jessica thought she was playing chess with a confused old woman. She was about to discover she'd been playing with a master. But first, I needed to set the stage for her final devastating mistake. The secret weapon phase. Let me tell you something about underestimating a black woman who's lived through 7 decades of people trying to count her out. We learn early how to watch, how to listen, and how to keep our most important cards close to our chest until it's time to play them. While Jessica was busy building her case for my incompetence, I was building something much more powerful, an ironclad defense and a strategy for total victory. The first thing I did was visit my bank. I walked into that branch where I'd been a customer for 37 years and asked to speak with the manager, Mrs. Chen, who'd handled my accounts since Robert and I first moved to the neighborhood. "Mrs. Washington, how lovely to see you. How can I help you today?" "I need to review all my accounts and make sure everything is properly documented. I also want to add some additional security measures." Mrs. Chen pulled up my files and we went through everything. My checking account, savings account, the certificate of deposit Robert and I had started 20 years ago that was now worth considerably more than when we'd opened it, my IRA, everything. "Your accounts are all in excellent standing, Mrs. Washington. You maintain healthy balances, and your payment history is perfect. Is there a particular concern?" I explained that I was worried about potential financial abuse, and Mrs. Chen's expression grew serious. She'd been working in banking long enough to recognize the warning signs. "Let's add some additional protections right now," she said. "I'll put alerts on all your accounts for any transactions over $500. I'll also add a note that any changes to account ownership or beneficiaries require in-person verification with 2 forms of ID. But the most important thing Mrs. Chen told me was something Jessica clearly didn't know. "Mrs. Washington, I should mention that your net worth, including your property value, makes you what we classify as a high net worth client. Based on current market values, your total assets are approximately $1.2 million. I nearly choked on the coffee she'd brought me. "I'm sorry, what?" She pulled out a calculator and showed me the breakdown. My house, which Robert and I had bought for $85,000 in 1987, was now worth $750,000 thanks to Oakland's real estate boom. My various savings and retirement accounts totaled another $300,000. Robert's life insurance had been $150,000. I was worth over $1 million, and I'd been living so modestly that even I hadn't realized it. "Mrs. Washington, you're not just financially secure, you're wealthy. Has no one ever explained this to you?" No, they hadn't, because Jessica and Marcus saw an elderly woman clipping coupons and turning down the thermostat to save money. They assumed I was barely getting by. They had no idea that my frugal habits weren't born from necessity. They were born from a Depression-era upbringing that taught me the value of every dollar. But now I knew, and knowledge, as my mama used to say, is power. The next stop was the electronics store. I told the young man working there that I needed a security system for my home, and he set me up with something that would have made the CIA jealous. 4 small cameras that looked like decorative objects, a system that recorded everything to the cloud, and an app on my phone that let me monitor everything in real time. I installed 1 camera in the living room, disguised as a decorative vase on the mantel, 1 in the kitchen, hidden inside a fake plant on top of the refrigerator, 1 in the hallway, and 1 by the front door. Every common area of my house was now under surveillance. Then I went shopping for the performance of a lifetime. I bought a small notebook and started leaving it in obvious places around the house, filled with increasingly confused entries. Tuesday, did I take my pills? Can't remember. Wednesday, Jessica helped me find my glasses. Where did I put them? Thursday, Marcus worried about me. Sweet boy. I started asking the same questions twice in one conversation. I began misplacing items on purpose, putting my reading glasses in the refrigerator, leaving my purse in the bathroom, forgetting where I'd put important papers. But here's the thing. Jessica didn't understand about acting confused. Real confusion is random and inconsistent. Fake confusion, when you're doing it to manipulate someone, follows patterns. And I was very careful to be confused about exactly the right things at exactly the right times. I forgot conversations that made me look incompetent, but remembered every detail about family stories and personal history. I misplaced things that would make Jessica feel like she needed to manage my life, but never forgot to pay bills or take care of essential tasks. And all the while, my cameras were recording everything. Within 2 weeks, I had footage of Jessica moving my belongings to different places, then finding them and expressing concern about my memory. I had audio of her on the phone with assisted living facilities discussing my needs and their availability. I had recordings of her telling Marcus that I was getting worse and needed more supervision. But the best footage came on a Thursday evening when they thought I was napping upstairs. I was lying in my bed with my bedroom door cracked open, listening to them in the living room below. Jessica was on her laptop, and I could hear the clicking of keys. "Okay, I found 3 facilities with immediate openings," she was saying. "Sunset Manor is the nicest, but it's also the most expensive. Golden Years is more affordable, but the online reviews are pretty bad." "Jess, I'm still not comfortable with this. Maybe we should try in-home care first." "Marcus, honey, we've talked about this. In-home care is expensive, and it's not a long-term solution. Your mother needs full-time supervision now, and honestly, we need to think about our future too. We can't put our lives on hold indefinitely." I could hear papers rustling. "I had a realtor come look at the house yesterday while you were at work. She thinks we could get at least $750,000, maybe more if we do some updates first." My heart stopped. Jessica had brought a realtor to my house without my knowledge or permission. She was actively planning to sell my home while I was still living in it. "You had a realtor here? Jess, that seems premature." "I was just getting information, Marcus. Look, I know this is hard, but we have to be realistic. Your mother can't live here forever, and this house is just sitting here accumulating equity we could be using to improve our lives." I mean, if Mama's not safe here anymore?" "She's not, baby. Yesterday I found her trying to cook with the gas burner, but she'd forgotten to light it. The kitchen could have filled with gas. She could have killed us all." Another lie. I hadn't cooked with gas in 30 years. My stove was electric and had been since 1995, but Marcus wouldn't remember details like that, and Jessica was counting on his ignorance. "Maybe you're right. Maybe it is time." "I think so too. And Marcus, I know this is difficult, but I really think your mother will be happier around people her own age. She'll have activities, social interaction, professional care. It's really the kindest thing we can do for her." The kindest thing. This woman was planning to steal my house and warehouse me in a nursing home, and she was calling it kindness. But she'd just given me everything I needed to destroy her. The next morning, while they were both at work, I called Patricia. "I've got them," I said. "I've got everything we need." "What do you mean?" "Financial exploitation, conspiracy to commit fraud, and trespassing. Jessica brought a realtor into my house without my permission to assess its value for sale. She's been systematically gaslighting me to build a case for incompetence, and I have it all on video." Patricia was quiet for a moment. "Rose, send me those recordings immediately. If what you're telling me is true, we don't just have grounds for a restraining order, we might have grounds for criminal charges." "What do you want me to do?" "Nothing yet. Keep recording, keep documenting, but don't let them know you're onto them. Let Jessica make her move. When she does, we'll be ready." "How will I know when she's making her move?" Patricia laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Oh, you'll know. Women like Jessica always overplay their hand. They get so confident in their manipulation that they stop being careful. She'll slip up, Rose, and when she does, we'll destroy her." I hung up the phone and looked around my living room. my living room in my house, filled with my memories and my husband's love. Jessica thought she was going to take all of this away from me. She had no idea that she'd just declared war on a woman who'd been fighting battles since before she was born. The final confrontation was coming, and I was ready. The strategic revenge phase. The trap I set for Jessica was so simple, so perfect, that even now I have to smile when I think about it. Sometimes the best strategies are the ones that let your enemy destroy themselves. It was a Friday evening in late April. Marcus had mentioned that morning that he'd be working late on a big project, wouldn't be home until after 10. Perfect. I'd been waiting for an opportunity to be alone with Jessica, and this was it. I spent the day preparing, reviewing all my recordings, making sure my cameras were working perfectly, and most importantly, calling Patricia to make sure she was standing by. "Are you sure you want to do this tonight?" Patricia asked. "I'm sure. She's getting impatient, Pat. Yesterday, she asked me if I'd thought any more about getting help around the house. She's ready to make her final push." "Okay, I'll have everything ready on my end. The moment you need me, I'll be there." That evening, I made Jessica's favorite dinner, salmon with asparagus and rice pilaf. I set the table with my good china, lit candles, even opened a bottle of wine. When she walked in from work, I could see the surprise on her face. "Mama Rose, what's all this?" "Just wanted to do something nice for you, baby. You've been working so hard, and you've been so patient with me. I thought we deserved a special dinner." Jessica's smile was genuinely warm for the first time in months. She thought I was finally surrendering, finally accepting her version of reality. We sat down to dinner, and I played my role perfectly. I was confused about small things, couldn't remember what day garbage pickup was, mixed up the names of my neighbors, asked her to remind me about a conversation we'd had the day before. Jessica ate it up. She was gentle, patient, helpful, the perfect caring daughter-in-law dealing with an elderly woman's declining mental state. After dinner, we moved to the living room. I poured us each another glass of wine and settled into Robert's old chair. "Jessica, honey, I've been thinking about what you said, about getting help." Her eyes lit up, but she kept her voice calm and concerned. "What about it, Mama Rose?" "Well, I'm starting to worry that maybe you're right. Maybe I am having some problems I didn't want to admit." "Oh, Mama Rose, it's okay. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens to a lot of people as they get older. I found my medication in the sugar bowl yesterday, and I don't remember putting it there." "Because you put it there," I thought, but I kept my expression confused and worried. "And I couldn't remember if I'd paid the electric bill this month." "These things happen," Jessica said gently. "That's why Marcus and I are here to help you. I've been thinking maybe it would be better if I went somewhere with people who know how to take care of someone like me." Jessica leaned forward, and I could practically see the dollar signs in her eyes. "You mean like an assisted living facility?" "Yes. Do you think you could help me find somewhere nice?" "Of course, Mama Rose. In fact, I've already done some research, just in case you ever decided you wanted to explore your options." She went to get her laptop, and I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. This woman was so eager to get rid of me that she didn't even pretend the research was new. "I found several lovely places," she said, settling back on the couch with her computer. "This one, Sunset Manor, has beautiful grounds and lots of activities." She turned the laptop toward me, showing me pictures of smiling elderly people in a facility that looked more like a hotel than a nursing home. "It looks expensive," I said. "Don't worry about that. The good news is, you have this big house that's worth a lot of money. If we sold it, there would be more than enough to pay for your care, plus money left over for your future needs. But this is my home. Robert and I built our life here. Jessica's mask slipped slightly. I saw a flash of impatience cross her face before she caught herself. I know it's hard, Mama Rose, but you have to be practical. You can't maintain this big house anymore, and it's not safe for you to live alone. Selling it is really the best option for everyone. Everyone? Well, yes. It would give you the resources you need for proper care, and it would allow Marcus and me to finally start our own lives. We've put our plans on hold to take care of you, and while we're happy to do it, we also need to think about our future. There it was, the truth, finally out in the open. What kind of plans have you put on hold? Jessica's eyes got dreamy, and I realized she'd been fantasizing about this moment for months. Well, we want to buy our own house, of course, somewhere we can really make our own, and we want to start a family. I'm not getting any younger, and we've been waiting so long to have children. And you can't do that here? Mama Rose, this isn't our house. It's yours. We need our own space, our own equity, our own life. And honestly, with your condition getting worse, it's not fair to ask us to be your full-time caregivers. You need professional help. I nodded slowly, as if I was processing this information. I suppose you're right. When would I need to move? Well, Sunset Manor has an opening next month. I could call them tomorrow and put down a deposit to hold your spot. And I already have a realtor lined up to list the house. She thinks we could have it sold within 60 days. I blinked slowly, as if trying to process this timeline. So fast? It's better to move quickly, Mama Rose. The longer we wait, the harder it gets. And honestly, I'm worried about leaving you alone even for short periods now. Just yesterday, I came home and found the front door unlocked. Another lie. My front door has an automatic deadbolt that locks itself, but I nodded as if I believed her. Jessica, can I ask you something? Of course. If we sell the house for, what did you say, $750,000? That's what the realtor estimated, yes. And the nursing home costs how much? Jessica pulled up another tab on her laptop. Sunset Manor is about $6,000 a month for the level of care you'd need, so that's $72,000 a year. I did the math in my head. At that rate, my house money would last about 10 years. And what happens to the money that's left over after my care is paid for? Well, Marcus would manage it for you, of course. He'd make sure it's invested properly and that your needs are met. Marcus would control my money? Just to make sure you're protected, Mama Rose. People with memory issues can be vulnerable to scams and poor financial decisions. It's really for your own safety. I sat back in Robert's chair and looked at this woman who had just laid out her entire plan to steal my house, control my money, and warehouse me in a nursing home. She was practically glowing with satisfaction, thinking she'd convinced a confused old woman to give up everything voluntarily. Jessica, that's very thoughtful of you and Marcus to think all this through. We just want what's best for you. I can see that, but I have one more question. What's that? I reached into the side pocket of Robert's chair and pulled out the folder Patricia had prepared for me. My question is this: what makes you think you have any legal right to sell my house, control my money, or make decisions about my medical care? Jessica's smile faltered. What do you mean? I opened the folder and pulled out the first document. This is the deed to my house. As you can see, it's in my name only, not Marcus's name, not your name, mine. Jessica's face went pale. Mama Rose, I don't understand. This, I continued, pulling out the second document, is a letter from my doctor confirming that I am in excellent mental and physical health, with no signs of dementia, memory loss, or cognitive decline. Jessica's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. And this, I said, pulling out the third document, is a psychological evaluation I had done last week, confirming that I am fully competent to make my own decisions about my medical care, my finances, and my living situation. What, Jessica? How did I figure out that you've been lying about my mental state? How did I discover that you've been moving my belongings to make me look confused? How did I find out that you brought a realtor to my house without my permission? Jessica stood up abruptly, and I could see panic starting to set in. Mama Rose, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Oh, there's been a misunderstanding, all right. You understood me to be a confused, helpless old woman you could manipulate into giving up my home and my independence. But let me help you understand who you're really dealing with. I stood up and walked to the mantel, where my camera was hidden in the decorative vase. I picked it up and showed it to her. I've been recording everything, Jessica. Every lie you've told, every time you've moved my belongings, every conversation you've had with Marcus about getting rid of me. I have hours of footage of you planning to steal my house. Jessica's face went from pale to red. You can't. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. This is my house, and I have every right to monitor what happens in it. But you know what is illegal: elder abuse, financial exploitation, conspiracy to commit fraud. I pulled out my phone and showed her the app connected to my security system. Would you like to see some highlights? Here's you putting my reading glasses in the refrigerator last Tuesday. Here's you moving my bills from the kitchen counter to the bathroom medicine cabinet. And here's my personal favorite, you on the phone yesterday with Sunset Manor, telling them I'd agreed to move in next month. Jessica sank back onto the couch, and I could see her mind racing, trying to figure out how to salvage her plan. Mama Rose, you're not thinking clearly. I was only trying to help. Help? Let me tell you what you were trying to do. You were trying to gaslight me into believing I was incompetent so you could control my finances and steal my house. You brought a realtor here without my permission. You toured nursing homes and made plans to commit me without my consent. You lied to my son about my mental state to turn him against me. I sat back down and looked at her with all the coldness I could muster. But here's what you didn't know, Jessica. I'm not just some confused old woman you can push around. I'm a registered nurse with 40 years of experience. I know the signs of real cognitive decline, and I know when someone is faking concern to cover abuse. I'm also worth $1.2 million, which means I can afford the best lawyers in California. Jessica's eyes went wide. 1.2 million? Surprised. You thought you were stealing from a poor old woman, didn't you? You thought I was barely scraping by, desperate for help, grateful for your fake kindness. But I've been building wealth for 40 years while you've been spending money you don't have on clothes and lifestyle. I pulled out the final document from my folder. This is a restraining order, Jessica, effective immediately. You are not allowed within 500 feet of me or my property. You have 24 hours to remove your belongings from my house. You can't throw me out. This is where Marcus and I live. Marcus is welcome to stay. You are not. And if you're thinking about trying to manipulate my son into choosing between us, you should know that I've already talked to him. That was a lie, but Jessica didn't know that. I've shown him the recordings, Jessica. All of them. He knows what you've been planning. Jessica's face crumpled, and for the first time since I'd known her, her mask completely fell away. What I saw underneath was ugly, entitled, greedy, and cruel. You can't do this to me. I've put years into this relationship, into this family. I deserve something for all the time I've wasted here. You deserve exactly what you've earned, which is nothing. You're a liar and a thief, and you picked the wrong woman to steal from. Jessica stood up, and I could see her fighting between rage and panic. Marcus won't let you do this. He loves me. Marcus loves the woman he thought you were, but that woman never existed, did she? You've been playing a role for 5 years, pretending to be kind and caring while planning to rob his mother. Do you really think my son is going to choose someone who tried to steal from his family? That's when Jessica made her final fatal mistake. Her mask didn't just fall away. It shattered completely. You stupid old bitch, she screamed. You think you're so smart, but you're just a selfish old woman holding back your son's future. That house is wasted on you. You're going to die soon anyway. Why shouldn't we get some benefit from all the years we've wasted taking care of you? Taking care of me? You mean the years you've spent living in my house rent-free while planning to steal it? We deserve that house. Marcus is your son. We shouldn't have to wait for you to die to start our real lives. And that's when I heard the front door open. What the hell is going on in here? Marcus stood in the doorway, still in his work clothes, staring at his wife with an expression I'd never seen before. He'd heard everything. The screaming, the accusations, Jessica's true feelings about his mother and their marriage. Marcus! Jessica's voice immediately shifted back to its sweet, manipulative tone. Thank goodness you're here. Your mother is having some kind of episode. She's saying crazy things, accusing me of... I heard what you said, Jessica. Marcus's voice was quiet, but there was steel in it. I heard you call my mother a bitch. I heard you say we deserve her house. I didn't. I was just frustrated. How long have you been planning this? Marcus asked. How long have you been lying about Mama's mental state? Jessica looked back and forth between us, realizing that her world was collapsing. Marcus, you don't understand. Your mother has been recording us. She's been spying on us in our own home. Her home, Marcus corrected. This is her home, Jessica. We're guests here. I thought we were family. Marcus looked at his wife, really looked at her, and I could see him recognizing her for the first time. Family doesn't lie to each other. Family doesn't steal from each other. And family sure as hell doesn't try to throw their elders away like garbage. Jessica tried one more desperate manipulation. Marcus, think about our future. Think about the children we want to have. We can't raise a family in someone else's house. Then we'll get our own house, with our own money, from our own work. Marcus's voice was getting stronger. We'll do it the way my parents did, through hard work and sacrifice, not by stealing from family. Jessica's face twisted with rage again. Your parents were lucky. They bought when real estate was cheap. We'll never be able to afford anything decent on what you make. Then maybe I married the wrong woman, Marcus said quietly. The silence that followed was deafening. Jessica stared at Marcus, finally understanding that she'd lost everything. Her plan had failed. Her marriage was over, and her true nature had been exposed for everyone to see. I want you out of my house, I said into the silence. Tonight. I have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you tried to steal my home. Marcus rubbed his face with his hands. Jess, I'll help you find an apartment. I'll pay the deposit. But Mama's right. You can't stay here. And us? What about our marriage? Marcus looked at his wife one more time, and I could see him saying goodbye to the woman he thought he'd married. I don't know if there's an us anymore, Jess. I need time to think about whether our whole relationship has been a lie. Jessica gathered what dignity she had left and walked toward the stairs. I'll pack my things. Just your things, I called after her. Anything that belongs to this house stays here. After she went upstairs, Marcus slumped onto the couch and put his head in his hands. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry I didn't see what she was doing. I sat down next to my son and put my arm around him. Baby, she fooled me too at first. She's very good at what she does. How long have you known? A few weeks. I started getting suspicious when she kept pushing about the nursing home, so I had Patricia help me figure out what was really going on. Marcus looked up at me with surprise. Patricia's involved? Honey, Patricia's been my lawyer for 20 years. Did you really think I'd make major life decisions without consulting her? I guess I thought you needed us to help you with things like that. I took my son's hands in mine. Marcus, I know I'm getting older, and I know someday I might need help, but that day isn't today. I'm still sharp, I'm still independent, and I'm still capable of managing my own life. And when the time comes that I do need help, we'll make those decisions together, as a family, not because someone manipulates and lies to get what they want. Marcus nodded, tears in his eyes. I should have listened to you. I should have paid more attention. You were dealing with your own problems, baby, and Jessica is very good at manipulation. She almost had me convinced I was losing my mind. What happens now? I smiled and squeezed his hands. Now we move forward. You figure out what you want to do about your marriage. I keep living my life in my own house, and Jessica learns that you don't mess with the Washington family. The resolution phase. The next few weeks were like watching dominoes fall, each consequence triggering the next in a beautiful cascade of justice. Jessica moved out that night, taking only her personal belongings and her shattered dreams of easy money. She found a studio apartment across town and tried to convince Marcus to join her, but my son had finally seen who she really was. The divorce papers were filed within a month. Marcus used Patricia as his lawyer too, and since Jessica had no claim to any assets they'd acquired during the marriage, because they hadn't acquired any, they'd been living in my house rent-free. The proceedings were swift and decisive. But the real satisfaction came when Patricia served Jessica with a cease and desist order regarding any future contact with assisted living facilities on my behalf. Apparently, Jessica had been so confident in her plan that she put down deposits at 3 different facilities using forged documents with my signature. She actually thought she could forge your signature and commit you without your consent, Patricia told me over lunch. The arrogance is breathtaking. What kind of trouble is she in? Well, attempted elder abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, and forgery are all felonies. The district attorney is very interested in the case, especially since we have video evidence of everything. Jessica tried to fight the charges, claiming she'd been trying to help me and that I was vindictive and mentally unstable. But when Patricia presented the court with my medical evaluations, my financial records proving my competence, and hours of video footage showing Jessica's systematic campaign of gaslighting, the judge wasn't sympathetic. Jessica was sentenced to 2 years probation, ordered to pay restitution for the money she'd spent on unauthorized facility deposits, and required to attend counseling for elder abuse perpetrators. She was also permanently banned from working in any capacity that involved access to elderly or vulnerable adults. But the most satisfying part, the whole case became public record, and Jessica's employer, that fancy tech company she was so proud of, fired her immediately when they found out. Apparently, companies don't like employing people convicted of trying to defraud elderly family members. Marcus, meanwhile, was dealing with his own reckoning. He'd loved Jessica, or at least the version of Jessica she'd presented to him, and discovering that their entire relationship had been built on her long-term plan to steal from his mother was devastating. I keep thinking about all the times she pushed me to ask you for money, he told me one evening as we sat on Robert's deck. All the times she suggested you were getting confused or forgetful. I thought she was being helpful, but she was setting up her con the whole time. Don't blame yourself, baby. She was very good at what she did. But I should have listened to you. All those little comments you made about her never feeling quite right. I dismissed them because I wanted my marriage to work. I reached over and took his hand. Marcus, honey, you learned something important about who you want to be and what kind of partner you want. That's not a failure. That's growth. And Marcus did grow. He threw himself into rebuilding his construction business, but this time with a clearer sense of priorities. He moved back into his old bedroom temporarily while he saved money for his own place, money he earned through his own work, not by stealing from family. 6 months after Jessica's departure, Marcus met someone new. Dr. Angela Foster was an emergency room physician at Highland Hospital, the same hospital where I'd worked for 40 years. She was smart, funny, independently successful, and most importantly, she treated me with genuine respect and affection. I like this one, I told Marcus after Angela's 3rd visit to the house. She talks to me like I'm a person, not a problem to be managed. She likes you too, Mama. She says you remind her of her own grandmother. Angela understood that Marcus came as a package deal with a strong, independent mother, and instead of seeing me as an obstacle to overcome, she saw me as a bonus. She brought me books she thought I'd enjoy, asked my advice about dealing with difficult patients, and even helped me plant new roses in Robert's memory garden. When they got engaged a year later, Angela asked if they could have the wedding reception in my backyard. Are you sure? I asked. That's a lot of work and expense. Mrs. Washington, this house is where Marcus grew up, where his father built that beautiful deck, where you raised him to be the man I fell in love with. I can't think of anywhere more perfect to start our marriage. Now that's the kind of daughter-in-law a mother dreams of. But the most important resolution was my own. Living through Jessica's manipulation and betrayal taught me something crucial about my own strength and value. I wasn't just Robert's widow or Marcus's mother. I was Rose Washington, a woman who'd built a life through her own intelligence, hard work, and determination. I decided to honor that strength by doing something I'd been thinking about for years. I started a support group for elderly people dealing with financial abuse and family manipulation. Many of you have children or relatives who think you're too old to make your own decisions. I told the first group of 12 seniors who gathered in my living room. They want to help you manage your money, help you find appropriate housing, help you make better decisions about your life. But remember, you've been making good decisions longer than they've been alive. The group grew quickly. Within 6 months, we had over 50 members and had to move our meetings to the community center. We called ourselves the Silver Lions because we might be silver-haired, but we still had teeth and claws. I also started working with Patricia on a pro bono basis, helping other seniors navigate attempts by family members to take control of their assets or living situations. There's something powerful about an elderly person standing up in court and saying, I know what abuse looks like because I lived through it, and this is abuse. We helped a 75-year-old man whose son was trying to force him into a nursing home to gain control of his farm. We supported an 82-year-old woman whose daughter was stealing her Social Security checks. We provided evidence and testimony that helped prosecutors convict a man who was systematically draining his mother's savings account. Each victory felt like a tribute to Robert's memory and a validation of my own worth. 1 year after Jessica's departure, I threw a party, not a birthday party or a holiday celebration, a I survived an attempted theft and kicked ass party. Marcus and Angela were there, Patricia and her husband, all my Silver Lions friends, and even Mrs. Chen from the bank. As I looked around my living room in my house, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about me, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, complete satisfaction with my life. You know, Patricia said, as we stood on Robert's deck watching the sunset, Jessica actually did you a favor. How do you figure? She forced you to recognize your own power. Before her, you were living quietly, modestly, not fully appreciating what you'd built. Now look at you, running support groups, helping other seniors, standing up in court. She woke up the warrior in you. I sipped my wine and thought about that. Patricia was right. Jessica's betrayal had been devastating, but surviving it had reminded me who I really was. Not a victim, not a burden, not a confused old woman in need of management. I was Rose Washington. I was a nurse who'd saved lives, a wife who'd built a marriage that lasted 42 years, a mother who'd raised a good man, and a woman who'd accumulated wealth through intelligence and hard work. I was someone who fought back when cornered, who protected what was mine, and who didn't let anyone, not even family, treat her like she was disposable. 3 months ago, Jessica called Marcus. She'd lost her job, couldn't make rent on her studio apartment, and wanted to know if she could come back. I've learned my lesson, she told him. I know I made mistakes, but I still love you. We could try counseling. Marcus called me that night. What do you think, Mama? Baby, what do you think? I think some mistakes are too big to forgive. I think some betrayals show you who a person really is at their core. And I think I'm a lot happier now than I was when I was married to someone who saw my mother as an obstacle to overcome. Then you have your answer. Marcus told Jessica no. She threatened to contest the divorce, to claim she'd been coerced, to file complaints about the criminal charges. Patricia shut all of that down with a single letter reminding Jessica that she was still on probation and that any further harassment of me or my family would result in additional charges. We haven't heard from her since. Last week, Marcus and Angela had some news. They're expecting a baby, my first grandchild, due next spring. We want to raise the baby here, Angela told me, in this house, with their grandmother close by, if that's okay with you. I looked at this young woman who'd brought such joy back into my son's life, who treated me like family instead of an inconvenience, who wanted her child to grow up surrounded by love and history instead of trying to escape from it. Angela, honey, nothing would make me happier. So here I am at 68 years old, getting ready to become a grandmother. My house, my beautiful, hard-won house, will soon be filled with the sound of a baby's laughter. Robert's deck will have a high chair and toys scattered across it. The garden we planted together will be where I teach my grandchild to grow roses. Jessica thought she could steal my future. Instead, she gave me a better one than I'd ever imagined. And if that baby grows up to be anything like their grandmother, they'll know that you don't let anyone push you around. You fight for what's yours, and you never, ever underestimate the power of a woman who's lived long enough to learn the difference between kindness and weakness. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be a victim. Sometimes justice looks like keeping what belongs to you and sharing it with people who deserve it. And sometimes, honey, the sweetest victory is watching someone who tried to destroy you realize that they only made you stronger. That's my story. That's how I put Jessica out on the street after she tried to put me in a home. And let me tell you something. I've never slept better in my life than I do now, in my own bed, in my own house, surrounded by my own family. Because this old woman, she's got plenty of fight left in her.